Is Kyrie more, let's start with, what do these comments say about Kyrie?
First, I'm going to defend Kyrie.
Okay.
Then I'm going in. But let me first say, when people get outraged that someone makes a comparison to some greater figure, people use your imaginations a little. He's not saying that that Kyrie is comparable to Martin Luther King as a great man. That's clearly not what he's saying. But what he is saying, and that's a problem for me, is he feels persecuted. And he's using an example of a great man who is persecuted. And by persecuted, I mean the criticism of Kyrie, he's saying, is out of proportion to what's going on. I could just go somewhere and not say anything, and you all are going in on me. Well, Kyrie, if we notice the win-loss record of your team is better without you, then your absence is saying something. If you go out and say we need to add pieces, then in fact you're not just shutting up and not saying anything. People are going to go in. Kyrie, to me, seems to have this compulsion to let everyone know how smart he is. He may be smart. He has not shown evidence of it with anything he's said in public that I can recall. He's shown evidence of the opposite. And I remember being a 25-year-old and feeling that I wanted credit for things and, hey, I'm an adult now and all that stuff, and wanting people to know how smart I am, and I still do that. I mean, that's natural if you're in front of a camera. So I get it. I'm not saying that I and others are not also insecure, because that's really what it is, in this way, but hot damn is he insecure in this way. Kyrie, you may feel persecuted. You're a famous dude. There's lots of negative stuff said about you. There's also lots of positive stuff. And the negative stuff is largely a reaction to your work on the court in terms of a leader of a team, in the locker room, in terms of reports that people hear, and then the stuff you say in front of the camera.
Max, listen. Let me interject a little. So people have perceptions, right? When I first started in this business, big dude, played defense, played football, Southern draw, dumb, right? What is he talking about? Then I came here to New York.
You just embraced that, you're saying?
No. Then I came here and we started talking basketball, and then you get the tweets. Why is Marcus on TV talking basketball?
Right.
The smartest people in the world know what they don't know. And I'm never going to get into a conversation and interject myself and talk from a position like I know what this conversation is about or being had. Kyrie's biggest problem is Baker Mayfield's biggest problem. They talk too damn much. That's like the old school Southern in me that's listening to my mom and my grandmother and my dad is like, yo, stay away from that. Like, you talking too much. So when you go down this history of Kyrie saying things, and you think about the putting on blast, and even I'll go a step further, Max, even what we're seeing with Boston and Kimba right now. There is indictment after indictment about Kyrie and his ability to go into a culture and interject something that's pretty negative, right? So regardless of if he feels persecuted or if he thinks it's unfair criticism of the things that he does and says, the problem is that Kyrie keeps talking about things and personalizing them to everybody that doesn't care.
Max, I have a question. Is Kyrie who the haters say he is? Now we've seen the history, what happened potentially at Cleveland, didn't get along with LeBron. We know part of that was LeBron's fault. Then he goes to Boston. It's supposed to be a great situation. He wants to be the man. That doesn't work out. He leaves. We see what Boston does. Now we're hearing rumors with the Nets. He talks about the persecution. But is perception reality?
Yeah, I think the perception of Kyrie is pretty much on the money as a guy who does not have the kind of leadership qualities, at least not yet, that you want from a point guard who you're hoping is going to have a team gel. I will say this, though, about Kyrie. I'll ask you guys. Anyone have a feeling that Kyrie is done winning championships? Because I don't. I have a feeling Kyrie is going to win at least one more championship in his career. He's that kind of cat. So there is, look, this is what I think his real problem is. His impulse is a good one, to want to be smart and to want to be known that way, at least. To have
More than a
aspirations,
player.
yeah, to be an aspirational intellectual, like he wants to be. That's a good impulse, but it's coupled in his case with what appears to me to be a thin ego. Like he wants it, but you can easily poke at him, and it
Max,
really
that was my point for
unbalances
saying
him.
everything I just said. All right, once you put yourself out there in that water, be ready for what's coming.
Right.
It's coming. When you say things out of the ordinary, or when you say something that other people don't like, it's coming. Stop complaining about the reaction. That's Kyrie's biggest problem. It's everybody else's fault. Fine, if you feel that way, great. But we're in a business where we talk on television every day and we get criticized, scrutinized. People tell us we don't know what the hell we talking about, and we take it with a grain of salt. Sometimes we talk about it, sometimes we respond. Kyrie, he internalizes this and feels like it's an attack from people he doesn't know. That's been my thing with KD as well. Like everybody say, well, this is a different crop of guys and it's social media and those people don't matter. I get that. I get that you want to respond and defend yourself. The problem is when you let people know it bothers you to your core because you continue to bring it up.
This is deeper though, and I want to come to you with this, but invoking your name with Martin Luther King Jr., can't you see that as offensive?
Yeah, but I'm with Max on that. Like people use that as an analogy. I've heard it. People, they crucified Jesus, and I've heard all of that, right? And I get the sentiment of where you coming from. So weak analogy.
You're making yourself too important.
It's a part of how you internalize.
It's the same reason that Shakespeare wrote about kings and queens, because you're dealing with human drama, but if you elevate it, people understand it. Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.